It's been a while since I've done a mixed martial arts event preview. This week of fights, kind of stupidly known as Red, White, and Fight Week, is garnered a lot of attention, and more people than average have been asking me what I think of the fights. So in other words, like one or two people went up to me and asked what I thought about Chris Weidman versus Machida, but definitely more than enough reason for me to give my thoughts on the fights and perhaps create some discussion on everyone else's predictions, analysis of the fights. On Friday, there's going to be a big fight between BJ Penn and Frankie Edgar, both coaches of the latest season of The Ultimate Fighter. I don't have much reason to believe this fight is going to turn out very well for BJ Penn. Frankie Edgar defeated him in a very close nip-tuck fight at 155 the first time they fought. The last time they fought, Frankie Edgar beat the brakes off of BJ Penn from head to toe, just out-wrestled him, out-kickboxed him. It was a utter domination. This fight at 145 pounds will be the now 5th division BJ Penn has fought in his mixed martial arts career, which is just incredible. This guy's just got an immeasurable ambition. He just goes after challenge after challenge, and I just don't see how it's going to equate well for BJ Penn if you take into consideration he's not looked good in a long time. It's been years since he got his last win, which was against Matt Hughes. It's going to be his first fight at 145 pounds. Tough to say how his cardio is going to hold up. And Frankie Edgar just simply has his number. Now, the reason why I'm actually very intrigued of the fight is because it doesn't matter who BJ Penn is going up against or what weight class, he has amazing finishing ability. His grappling is amongst the best in the world. He's got very good boxing, albeit slow at this stage of his career. And his guard passing and submissions, it's just, as I mentioned, amongst the best in the world, not to mention his knockout power. But if you look at the dynamics of this fight, I mean, Frankie Edgar's footwork is just some of the best we've seen in the UFC. I mean, he's so quick. About every kryptonite of BJ Penn will be possessed by Frankie Edgar. He is proven to be the better mixed martial arts wrestler. He is just, his chin holds up so well. He's never been knocked out. He's been hurt pretty much every other one of his fights. But, I mean, this guy is just he fights with so much heart. I don't think that BJ Penn is going to get knocked out. I mean, hell, if Rory McDonald couldn't do it in BJ Penn's last fight, I'd be pretty surprised if Frankie Edgar could do it. But I think it could look a lot like BJ Penn's last fight against Frankie Edgar, just 5-round domination, maybe even worse, maybe even some 10-8 rounds in there. But BJ Penn, it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if BJ Penn were to catch Frankie Edgar with a hook, or, he's got a very good jab. Frankie Edgar, his chin's been able to hold up, but, BJ Penn does have very good finishing ability. Maybe he hurts Frankie Edgar and catches him in a rear naked choke. So it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. I just don't believe it's going to happen. Should be an entertaining fight nonetheless. I mean, Frankie Edgar has never been in a fight that was not very entertaining. And then the next night, we move over to World Series of Fighting on NBC Sports. Definitely the biggest card this promotion has had. It's going to be Justin Gaethje versus Nick Newell for the lightweight belt. Now, a lot of you may be familiar with Nick Newell. If you're not, I'll fill you in real quickly. Nick Newell is a fighter with 1.5 arms. He's missing a hand. He's missing a right hand, and he's undefeated. He's like 10, 11-0 or something. Very, very skilled athlete, and he has not just been beating just guys that have been cherry-picked for him to beat for a feel-good story. He's been beating legitimate opposition, and he's going for the second or in probably the third biggest promotion in mixed martial arts, going for the lightweight belt. So he's getting an opportunity to prove himself as a regular human being, not just a man, as a skilled fighter, not just someone with a disability. Very inspirational, very motivational. This guy should have a book or a movie based on him. It's very intriguing story into itself, but unfortunately for Nick Newell, as I see it, he's running into a monster in Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje has a wrestling background, but this guy's story in his fights is just amazing, insane, kamikaze aggression, one-punch power. I'd be surprised if Nick Newell will be able to take down Justin Gaethje. If he does have an advantage against Gaethje in this fight, it's going to be on the ground. Nick Newell does have formidable stand-up, but due to the lack of his one of his arms, it does have some limitations. He does have some good elbows, some good combinations, but Justin Gaethje is just such a powerful fighter. He's just full of firepower. He's got a good chin. Hasn't really ever been hurt in any of his fights. He's beaten tougher opposition. He beat one of the top lightweights in Josiah's JV Cavalcante, where Nick Newell will have nothing to be ashamed of if he loses. I just find this is going to be too tough of a task for him. But if he wins, this is a guy that's very, very tough to root against. I mean, which I actually find to be a bit unfair for Justin Gaethje, who in their mind is going to root against a guy that only has, 1.5 arms. He's a very inspirational fighter, and it's going to be a little bit of a storm on the parade for Nick Newell, in my opinion. But I'd love to see Nick Newell prove me wrong. He's a great story, and it just continues to get better and better, and hopefully should get some good positive publicity for the World Series of Fighting promotion. And then the next night, you have the big one, UFC 175. You're going to have 2 title fights on the line. Ronda Rousey is going to try to defend her title against Alexis Davis. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I definitely predict Ronda Rousey to win this one, but the reason why I like this one is because Alexis Davis is really quite very, very easily the toughest grappler that Ronda Rousey will have faced in her short career thus far. Alexis Davis is going to be a very dangerous opponent for Ronda Rousey. If you put Alexis Davis in the same position that Ronda Rousey was in her first UFC fight, it could be another story. I mean, Alexis Davis is very offensive grappling, very dangerous from back control. She's competed in submission grappling tournaments, almost submitted Kyra Gracie. She's amongst the best in the world, at least in female mixed martial arts on the ground. Stand-up is okay. I just feel that Ronda Rousey is going to be too powerful for Alexis Davis. She's going to have superior wrestling. Her striking, where not necessarily technically sound, is just, she does have a lot more power, a lot more finishing ability. I think that she's going to give Alexis Davis some problems. I feel Ronda Rousey can hurt Alexis Davis on the feet, maybe take some damage, get Alexis Davis to the ground, and then finish off her patented armbar. But definitely look for Alexis Davis to threaten Ronda Rousey with some chokes if she's able to take Ronda Rousey's back. Easier said than done, but it should be noted that Ronda Rousey is someone that, due to her judo background, is not necessarily too strong in some of the more jiu-jitsu oriented positions. She's given her back on multiple occasions against multiple opponents. Should be an entertaining fight. I expect Ronda Rousey to win this one. And then the main fight that everyone will be looking forward to this weekend, 185-pound championship. You have Lyoto Machida looking to take the belt from Chris Weidman. Now, this is a very, very tough fight to pick, as tough as they come. Chris Weidman is your favorite in this fight, and stylistically, I think Lyoto Machida, if you look at the template, or the template of a fighter that's going to give Chris Weidman the most trouble, I think Lyoto Machida fills that category. I mean, this is a guy with a strong stand-up ability. His takedown offense is amongst the best in the history of the UFC. He's just so unorthodox. His footwork makes him very, very difficult to take down, very elusive. I think we're past the days where people used to find Lyoto Machida's fights boring. He's proven himself to be a very exciting fighter. A lot of finishing ability, a lot of power, wrestling very good, jiu-jitsu very good. He's only been tapped out. Well, actually, he's never tapped out. He's only been submitted once, and it was a technical submission, which John Jones put Lyoto Machida to sleep. So this guy's very, very strong on the ground and very, very tough to take down. I would say the one chink in Lyoto Machida's armor is that if you can get Lyoto Machida backing up and be aggressive, in my humble opinion, I've found that to be the most, where he's the most vulnerable, and that's one of Chris Weidman's strong suits. You look at what he did against Anderson Silva, you look at what he's done in some of his other fights against, say, Mark Munoz, Damian Maia. This is a guy who's very good when he's going forward, very good offensive fighter, and despite the aforementioned excellent takedown defense of Lyoto Machida, I still feel that Chris Weidman does have what it takes to get Lyoto Machida to the ground. If Phil Davis can get Lyoto Machida to the ground, I think Chris Weidman can. He's a very good striker. I feel that his striking will be enough to set up the takedown against Lyoto Machida. He's got a very good double leg, very good single leg. Former All-American wrestler, hence his nickname, Chris All-American Weidman. And on the ground, despite also the aforementioned strength and grappling of Lyoto Machida, Chris Weidman is a world-renowned grappler. He almost took out Andre Galvao in Abu Dhabi. Andre Galvao is one of the top-ranked submission grappling competitors, and that was when Chris Weidman had only about a year and a half in jiu-jitsu, which is just stupid. I mean, going against one of the top competitors in the world and then almost submitting him is really unheard of. So Chris Weidman is just an otherworldly athlete. His wrestling is amongst the best in the division. His striking has proven to be super improved, and he's got a lot of power. He knocked out Anderson Silva once, almost knocked him out twice. Under the tutelage of Ray Longo and Renzo Gracie, he's just such a slick fighter in all areas of the game. Although Lyoto Machida, I feel, can pose some threats to Chris Weidman, I feel that the matchup will prove to be favorably to Chris Weidman's advantage. Won't surprise me if Lyoto Machida wins the decision on this. I would say that the more likelihood, the higher likelihood of what will happen will be Chris Weidman winning the fight by decision. I mean, Lyoto Machida isn't a fish out of water on the ground. But Chris Weidman does have very good finishing ability. I just don't feel like he's going to have the submission chops to quite finish Lyoto Machida. Should be a very good fight, though, from start to finish. Really looking forward to all these fights. It's going to be an interesting possible shift in the possibly a lot of things going on depending on how the fights turn out. But the 4th of July, the last couple of years, has proven to be the biggest weeks of mixed martial arts as far as big name power goes, though. So really looking forward to it. Should be a great night of fights. And I'd like to hear what everyone else has to feel on how they think the fights will turn out. Very intriguing matchups coming up.